there, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for Ask the Expert North Texas. I'm Kristen Diaz.
I'm David Rankin. We are getting hit with an early blast of summertime temperatures this year. The average around this time of year, right around 93 degrees, kind of tolerable for most people. But we're starting a string where our temperature is going to soar over 100 degrees for at least a week, if not longer. That's going to put our AC units into August mode early. What happens when your air conditioner is on the fritz? On today's Ask the Expert, we are joined by Jimmie Dale. He's the president of Baker Brothers Plumbing, Air, and Electric. He is in the KRLD Zoom room. Jimmie, thank you so much for the time.
Oh, no problem. Glad to be here.
First off, let's talk about your workers. How busy are you guys right now?
Yeah, we're pretty covered up. We're pretty slammed. I mean, it's been like a light switch. It was kind of pretty mild, May, and then all of a sudden just got hit with a big June with a lot of 100-degree days. So yeah, really stacked up.
Yeah, it's been pretty early for this time of year to be seeing such consecutive triple-digit heat, and I know that's just putting everybody's equipment into overtime. One of the things that we've spoken about in the past is just having enough parts to fix some of the equipment that you guys are going out to check. Has that been an issue for y'all so far?
Well, I think we've, the COVID piece has kind of been over. We've been able to, get parts and equipment a lot easier than we had in the last couple of years. So that had been something that's very troubling in the past, us just having, and we stockpiled. So we got a lot of work just for the fact that, we had parts available, but yeah, we haven't had a tremendous hard, time getting them now. And so the COVID piece is kind of over.
Let's talk about preparing for this summertime heat. We know it's coming. What should people be doing while it's still relatively cool in order to make sure their AC units are working when they need to work extremely hard?
Yeah, I mean, a big part is of course, one of the things you hear is filters. I mean, having dirty filters puts a lot of strain on the system. And if you've ever had a problem before, the guy will ask you how often you change your filters, and usually we all forget about it. It's one of those things you just forget about. So I changed the filters, number one. Number two, make sure that all the bushes are cleared away from the outside condenser, because it's drawing, pushing air out, and you need to, just even if it's taking a hose and washing off, and there you can go get some do-it-yourself stuff that you can clean off the condenser, the coils on the outside with. And so making sure those fins are clean and clear. Sometimes there's a lot of brush around their shrubs, grow up against it because we try to hide the unit. Well, you need to have, clearance all the way around to let the air flow through the unit the way it should. So getting all the dirt particles out and doing that. And you can call almost any of the AC companies to come out and do a tune-up, and they'll do that cleaning for you on the outside. But trimming the back of the bushes and making sure there's plenty of space around is important as well. So those are some of just the very basic things that you can do. The other part too is just, the biggest part, what really strains these things, even when it's 94 out, but then it's 80 at night, the unit's working continuously all the time. So the big part about it, even if we had 100 degrees, but it drops down to 70, that actually gives the unit plenty of rest to kind of recoup a lot of times, especially older units. So, a big one too is just understanding and maybe not putting as much stress on it while you're work, put it up to 76. So it's just not working as hard, but it does cost you a lot to go from like 78 to 76 and 76 to 73 all the way down. And the further down you go, the more inefficient it's going to be.
One of the things I have mad respect for is your guys that are out there hustling in this heat, because it's, if these units are in the attic or just even outside in the house, and they're just out there in the blazing sun, I mean, the working conditions are not grand, and they always come out with a smile, and they're like happy to help. The people who I know that work on HVAC systems, they love what they do, but it's tough in Texas heat.
Yeah, the installation guys are up there all day, so it is hard on them. And like a lot of guys that weigh like 160 pounds will lose 30, and they don't have 30 to lose. But, a lot of times, we do is we try to do everything we can to take care of them and like, offer IVs and just make sure, talk about hydration, and I think all of us need to learn that, because I've had a buddy that got heat stroke just not too long ago playing golf, and he was just, miserable for 2 or 3 days. And it is a real thing when you get outside in the heat, just being careful and making sure you're drinking a lot of water.
Let's talk about when people are going on vacation and they're not going to be at home for a week or so. Where should the AC be set? Or is it smart to even turn the thing off while you're out of town?
Yeah, I mean, I think turning it completely off kind of just, you kind of are looking for some things to go wrong just because you don't want it to be 100 degrees inside the house, So I definitely would say, I think something safe a lot of people do is they turn it to like 78 or 80. That way, it's keeping relatively cool. And, and a lot of the new systems now too, you can actually control your AC unit like from your phone. And so the negative was you came home to 80 degree or 78 degree house. I think one of the things, that's key is like, hey, just being able to turn it down when you come back, so you kind of come into a cool house. But like you have like wine, storage, things like that. I mean, yeah, you don't want it to be 78 or 80 inside your house if you have like a bunch of wine there. So it's all pretty relative to what you have in the house. What pets, anything like that. I think with that being considered, you're probably talking about keeping more around 75. But yeah, that is a big thing. Just don't let it. I don't like the house getting too hot just because of other things that could go wrong with stuff that you're not thinking about.
Especially with so many people working from home now too, it's a whole different situation. I actually have a friend who has a baking service that she works out of her house. So her ovens are constantly on. She constantly needs to have her fridge when she's storing items to cool down. I mean, that's electricity that she doesn't have a choice to not to try to conserve during the day. Her job is at her home. So she's constantly cranking the AC or the electricity. How have those calls been for people who are like, I've got to get to work, I need you guys here now? How has that been managing?
Well, it is tough, and a lot of companies like ours have people that have you have an agreement. So kind of almost everybody's agreement guys, they kind of get front of the line service. So no matter what company it is, and they have agreements, they usually have that front line service. Which it's not important like in the fall and the spring, but it's important now, like when you want somebody to come out today. So it is tough, and that's one of the things that you have to kind of take into consideration. If you've had a unit that's been having a lot of problems and issues, that you kind of want to get it checked up before you get to summer. That way you're not in the middle of it. That doesn't mean that still things won't break. It's just you have lesser chance of that happening. And, I think a lot of people don't understand as well. I talked to the guy the other day, he goes, I got a 20-year-old unit, and he's been taking care of it. He does everything he's supposed to do maintenance wise. So it's lasted 20 years. The problem is that unit's really super inefficient. So it's like as they get older, we actually put in a monitoring system that Emerson used to come out with that would tell you exactly your sugar level every month. And what we noticed is that everyone that had older systems, man, they were like way less than what they should be. So if it was a 10 SEER system, they'd be operating at 5. So that's why you hear these guys say, hey, we can save you on your electric bill 50%. I mean, it actually can't happen because you're got a 10 that's operating as a 5. Somebody puts in an 18 and, it operates at least at a 17, 16, depending on your home, and you're saving a ton of money. So the big part is just to make sure that, I heard a guy out there, oh yeah, we're going to put a 28 unit at his parents. I was like, oh my God, you give your parents a $2,000 a month electric bill too. You can fix anything. That is one of the truths. You can fix anything except like leaking coils and things like that. But, there's Freon changes, there's more to come. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. So it's better to kind of take care of it on the front end than to kind of deal with it in the middle of summer, because no one has discounts and really big offers in 100-degree weather at AC units. So that is another problem too.
Yeah, supply and demand. Someone sets their air conditioning during the day at 72. They look at the thermometer, the temperature gauge on it, and it says 76. That doesn't necessarily mean something's wrong, does it?
Well, the other part too are the systems aren't really made to like go to 105 degrees. Like that's not their optimal temperature. So, like the units outside, or the ambient temperature is what creates some of the the efficiency or inefficiency. And so if it's made to go to 96, which most units were, you start getting to 105, they're not really made to keep up with that. So see, part of it has to do with your home. Like I have a room that's a west facing windows, that room, everything else is great. That one room. So heat loss cannot be controlled. Like if the AC is running and pumping full, it could just be that you have a really inefficient room like I do that's facing west that has all windows on one side. So, even people don't understand this, like even drapes, those heavy, dark out drapes, like what you want for sleeping and things, those things can help. She was talking about her friend that had the bakery. As she's saying it, I go, you know what, if she had a great exhaust system, it would exhaust some of that heat out and some of the, it exhausts some of that to the outside. If she was doing that from her house, she may need to upgrade that exhaust system. Insulation would help, like having better insulation helps a lot. Some people have 150 degrees in the attic, like 150 is terrible, too high. Some people still at 130, and then just 8 inches lower, they want it to be 72. Well, there's a part of that just doesn't work. So there's a part of it that it can be just the actual environment, that the system's in. But if it isn't working properly or is working inefficiently, most of the time, yes, there is the inefficiency is being caused by something on the system not working correctly. A fan slows down and it's just not blowing as much air across the coils. There's a lot of different things that can happen.
That's pretty fascinating. My question to you is,
it happens both ways.
We're living in a YouTube era. Everybody thinks that they can DIY everything if they just watch a YouTube video. What are the things that can go wrong with somebody trying to fix their own AC system?
Well, the joke is you can let the smoke out of the compressor. There's no smoke in there. It's just a joke. Like you burn it up and so it smokes. You can put the wrong freon, the wrong charge, too much on one side, They're just not, there's a part of it just not knowing what you're doing, anything that you're susceptible to, these issues and problems and mistakes. And there are some things you can fix yourself, but, the problem is the other thing too, is I think do-it-yourselfing thing is really cool when you have like a month to do a project. But when it's like, when the kids and mama are all upset because it's hot as heck in the house, you don't have a whole lot of time. And so rushing doesn't help anything either. So at Home Depot doesn't exactly have a ton of HVAC parts. You usually have to get those from other places. So HVAC is one of those things that, there's not a whole lot of, do-it-yourself guys out there, but there are some. And hey, it's great to do it in the spring when it's not a big deal. But once it hits summer, it's like, man, at some point you're going to have one shot at it. And then I know my wife's going to go, hey, buddy, let's hire someone. Let's get that back on. So it is something that people try, but yeah, the biggest one would be burning up the compressors. Like one of the worst things could happen to you.
Jimmie Dales, the president of Baker Brothers. Thank you so much for the time.
Oh, no problem. Glad to offer some help on this.